Viewers may have seen on the launch, it was supposed to go at 15,000 feet, this Starchaser 3 rocket, which was supposed to be scientist Steve Bennett's dream of eventually taking tourists into space. Well, that dream had turned into a nightmare just over an hour ago. The rocket, as I say, supposed to go 15,000 feet in the air. In fact, only got a few feet in the air and then veered off to the left and crashed into the course line behind me here on Dartmoor. As you can see at the moment, the fire service have arrived just a few minutes ago. Before then, members of the science team and the army were desperately trying to contain the flames by beating them down. The fire service has now arrived, and they have in fact managed to get the first part of the fire under control, but further behind them, the moor is still on fire. And of course, the problem is it's been very dry here over the last few days. The area of the moorland around here is in fact very, very dry. And the next problem is this is a Ministry of Defence firing range, so there is a chance there could be some live ammunition there which could be triggered off and make the fires even worse.
Well, it's a very unusual site for a rocket launch, isn't it?
It is indeed, and in fact they took a lot of safety measures. We were allowed to go up to the rocket earlier today to inspect it, this 22-foot rocket, but then about a quarter of an hour before the launch, we were all moved a quarter of a mile, at least a quarter of a mile away. And as you notice, the rocket in fact was launched to the right of where the fire is, and that was in a dip. And again, that was the idea that if something did go wrong, it would be covered if it went up, and it wouldn't go into the open sky and crash down there.
Steve, there we must leave it. We're out of time from all of us in the world today. Goodbye. Starchaser took off as planned, but suddenly it swerved sideways and plummeted back down, crashing onto the moor where it caught fire. Mr. Bennett says he'll put it down to experience and try again.
That's it. We'll try again at 5:40 when I'll be back with the early evening news.
I'm sure he'll succeed, and the lunchtime news will be here again on Monday at 12:30 till...
An ambitious attempt to launch a space rocket from Devon ended in spectacular failure this morning when it crashed soon after takeoff and started a fierce fire on Dartmoor. Steve Bennett from Salford University hoped that his Starchaser rocket would soar to 15,000 feet in the experimental launch.
For the amateur rocket makers, it was the climax of months of work. Just hours before the launch, Starchaser 3 was being prepared and assembled. Its builders said it was the most sophisticated amateur rocket ever built. Then the countdown started.
3, 2, 1, ignition.
Launch, and then disaster at about 300 feet. Within minutes, fires were burning fiercely on the moor. Bits of rocket were strewn everywhere, and stunned rocket workers were trying to work out what had gone wrong.
It's too early to tell what's happened on Steve's rocket, but we believe primarily there's been a malfunction in the first stage. This could well be due to simply an imbalance in the actual burning of the motors.
For Steve Bennett, it was not the end of a dream to build a reusable rocket.
This isn't going to stop us. It'll hold us back a few months. We'll pick up the pieces and carry on.
So will there be a Starchaser 4?
There'll be another Starchaser 3. We'll get that right before we move on.
So Starchaser 3 will be built again. But this project has already cost £70,000. Stephen Cape, BBC News, Dartmoor.
A malfunction on Dartmoor. That is all this Friday lunchtime from the 1 o'clock news.